Hello, it's Tamara Hunter. And yes, I don't have much of a voice right now. So, however, welcome. And today is day number 299 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. And it's interesting how the world works because this woman is truly, I don't want to I don't want to cry, truly an inspiration to me. Someone I've been so excited to interview. And I don't have a voice. However, the way it works in this world is that you are never let down. And so we have Amy Morrison here with me as the second that we've been working together on 30 days of public service announcements for the Fusion Project. So welcome, Michelle Jenks, and over to you, Amy.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Tamara. And we all need each other's backs, fronts covered. So much love to you. You give so much, and it shows so much in your actions with your voice.
Yeah.
Well, that's so great to meet you, Michelle. We've been your ears must be burning every day for the last 17 days. And it's been fun to let everybody know what you're up to because it's just amazing. And Tamara she mentioned that Alicia had introduced you to the next impactor. And so we'd love to hear how that happened and how was it when you heard that you were nominated?
It was actually amazing. It's always a difficult thing to start something new. Anyone who starts something new knows that. And it takes a long time to kind of get momentum and movement forward. And I've even been reading some statistics that talk about how many businesses and groups fail after 3 years and then 5 years and 10 years. So to feel like our momentum is moving up as opposed to going backwards is amazing. So I was super touched when Alicia called me and told me that Team Todd had chosen the Fusion Project. I don't take it, well, I'm sure part of it's personal, and so I will accept that part of that's because they've heard my story and want to do it. But what I really care about is that there are millions of girls in our country who really could use the information, the knowledge that people believe in them so much and care about them so much that they're willing to help them, even if they never know them. So I love that. I really want our girls to be empowered and supported. And just what you said about we all need people who are in front of us and back of us. So do they. So do they.
Oh, really? That is for sure. And a lot of us want to know, the big question is, how did you just come up with this idea? What was there something that sparked a need you saw, or having your own girls, or
yes and yes. I think that empowerment for women has been a really important thing in my life. But about 10 years ago, I heard about the just tragic information about sex trafficking. And it was probably the first time I really realized that it was not something out there or over there in a different country, but it was happening so much in America. And so I spent a long time thinking and praying and trying to figure out what I was going to do to stop it because it just appalled me. It just gets me to talk about it now even. So I, in the midst of thinking through and trying different things and trying to get involved in other programs, honestly, it just came to me one night. I spent a lot of time waking up in the middle of the night and being concerned about women and children who were in dire situations in that moment and just kind of praying for them. So in one of those times, I thought, gosh, what if we could do something to prevent this? And so the average age of someone who's trafficked is 12 to 14. So that's junior high. That's literally how it came. There was no science behind it other than that. And what I realized when I did studies, and I worked with a graduate professor at a university who helped me get information, that self-esteem is so important in curbing some of their vulnerabilities. And so self-esteem impacts so many other things. I could go on and on. I won't. I'll let you keep asking me questions. But oh my gosh, it impacts everything from being bullied to having unhealthy relationships, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, all the way to sex trafficking. So that's sort of the worst evil in my mind, and then everything that comes in on that side of it. is something I really want to protect the girls from. And if we can build their self-esteem and limit their chances of being victimized, I will do everything I can possibly do to do that.
It's amazing. Um, I get that. This was not on my radar at all. Just a little bit of backstory, because we haven't really talked much yet.
Yeah.
Until I met Jody Parr, who's in the Next Vector, Next Vector also, and we had interviewed her. We didn't know her full story at all, and we're normally a uppy show. We bring it serious too, but we didn't even know what to say because it hadn't been on either one of our radars.
Yeah.
And but the message that she was able to share, people reached out to her through that, and she's empowered a lot of us to, okay, let's go.
Yes. Yes.
This is how we met doing this. So it's from Jody. So I thought you'd like to hear that.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
It's a small world.
Right? We were also wondering about the self-esteem, because we've really been trying to hit that pretty hard and get that, and it's like there's stats sprinkled under every subject we do, and we're wondering if there might be anything that we've missed, or anything you'd like someone to know that. Oh, because I know we've hit bullying, self-respect, self-defense.
Yeah. You've done a lot. I've been watching. I think the thing that's really the most I'm conscious of right now is the difference between self-confidence and self-esteem. And that self-confidence has to deal with our ability to do something. So if I have confidence in playing tennis or being a cheerleader or whatever that is that the girl would have, that's one thing. But self-esteem is much more about self-worth. And it is the very highest right before puberty, and it plummets to its lowest right when puberty hits. So if we don't work on it, purposely work on it, and if the girls don't work on it, it stays with them until they are in their 30s and 40s. And I'm finding, as I talk to women, and they're like, I totally believe that. I've lived that. Yeah. And I thought, well, gosh, if it's not just that we're protecting girls and helping them find self-esteem at that age of 12, 13, 14, but it impacts so much of their life and continues into their adulthood. And so by the time they're 30s and 40s, if they're going to have children, they've probably started that. So it's repeated the cycle without us ever even meaning to do any harm or damage. So I just find it, the more I learn about self-esteem, and I'm doing a lot of study on it, the more I'm just like, oh, this is so important. And we are not spending nearly the time, even talking to parents about what that looks like to empower the girls and to build that up, because it's not just about telling them they're perfect. In fact, that's harmful. So it's a fascinating topic.
It is. We can see ourselves in a lot of what we're teaching or sharing about what we're learning. It's like, it would have been nice to be able to tell my daughter things like that, and because they're not knowing. I didn't know what codependence was until I was 35. My kids were toddlers. I didn't know about narcissists until I was 35. And then the cycle of attracting.
Yes, exactly.
And so I could see the needs for this so much.
Yeah, I agree. And the good thing is you are learning about it. It's a continual process. I don't think we're ever going to be fully able to conquer it. So it's that journey that we go on, and then we pass it on when we find out, we pass it on and help other people. So don't be hard on yourself. Be grateful that because I feel like that's something that we do as women. And if we're passing that on to girls, I was just talking to someone yesterday about her frustration with how many women and girls apologize for things, even when it's not their fault, like when someone else bumps into them and they say they're sorry. And I think that's something that we just consciously need to be aware of. And it's a step-by-step, small steps, baby steps of incremental change, so that we don't raise another generation that does that, but they can say, no, I don't need to apologize for the space I'm taking up. I'm proud of the space I'm taking up. And we can say, oh, excuse me, or something like that, which is totally different than apologizing for our space.
That's really good.
Okay, I am going to ask a question.
Sure.
Anybody that's joined us, yes, I'm not talking much because of my voice, but we've been talking about where the dollars go, because we're raising funds for you. And this is very important, because everybody's raising funds right now, always.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so we made this little graphic. But if you can really talk to that, because we want to be able to hear from your voice where the funds are going.
Yep.
And so that we can then go out there and shout it from the rooftop. Wink,
I'm
wink.
so grateful for that. Um, so it's about $10 a week for a girl to be in our program, and that covers everything from our own liability insurance that we have to do, background checks of our leaders. We make sure that everyone, in fact, most schools do some background checks on adults, and we've chosen to do our own so that we can vet and change and look at some things that maybe the schools wouldn't even look at. Because my utmost, probably the top importance is that the girls are safe. So I want to make sure that they are. We have copywritten material that we use with the program, and so every program, whether it's wherever it is, if it's across the country from California, Illinois, they're all doing the same program, and so part of that funds goes to getting the material in the hands of the leaders so that they can do that well, and the materials that they use for their program. We are high on fun. This At that age, they've been in school all day. That age needs fun anyway. And thirdly, I think that that's one of the things we take away from girls really quickly is that we don't allow them to have fun and do things. So we make sure that they've got materials to do fun activities, even if it's one of the things that we do is get materials so they can make friendship bracelets, and we do it around Valentine's Day. So they're called friendship. It's a friend instead of Valentine's Day. It's a friend, like a friend Valentine Day. But we make friendship bracelets, and then we invite them to make a couple and give them to somebody that they don't think has any friends. It's someone that's sitting at lunch by themselves, someone that maybe someone who's been in their group and is no longer, girls are catty at that age, and they'll, one minute they're best friends and one minute they're irritated at something. And so using it as an olive branch to say, we're here and we want to make sure that you're included. So it's all of that material and all of that things that go into the cost of the program. We have only 3 very part-time people who are doing this that are getting paid, and they wouldn't get paid if our board hadn't really fought and said you have to begin to do something so that we can move into having some staff that when we leave they'll have people will want to come in after us. And so not a lot of our money goes towards that. Some of it does, but we need it. We need people who are doing some of our accounting and making sure that we're doing things well. But we just have people who have hearts of doing this, and so most of the money goes back into programming for the kids and trying to raise money for more money for them, just so that they can be free. We do, I should say, and Tamara, you may know this, but Alicia has created a really awesome camp, and we piloted this summer for our program because it coordinates so well with what we do. And so part of the money is going to go towards that so that we can offer that camp to the girls during the summer and during breaks and things like that, because it's 5 days. And so even girls that aren't at a school that we provide the program for right now can still be a part of it by being in the camp. So I'm super excited about that.
One more backup question.
Sure.
Follow up on this. We talk about other school districts bringing this program to their school.
Yep.
Can you talk about what it is that is needed for to start the Fusion project in a school or school district?
Yes. I can talk about that. So we have found that the best way to move it and keep it sustaining, that's really a sustainability issue, is to have an organization sponsor and take responsibility for a program at a school. So it can be a church, it can be a women's organization, it can be a social service agency or group like Kiwanis or Junior Women's Club or Lions Club, any of those kinds of programs. It doesn't matter. I don't even care if it's a book club, but just to have an organization that says, we want to champion this. We're going to be the ambassador for it. We're going to make sure you've got leaders. We're going to make sure that we've got the partial funding so that we can get the liability, all that stuff covered comes from that organization. We help them so they don't have to come and hand us a check. But we sit down and talk with them, and we give them ways that they can raise the money, ways that they can find the leaders. But we have found that when there's that cohesiveness with the team, that we don't have to meddle so much. We train them and we support them but then they can carry it year after year. So we've had one organization that's sponsored a couple of schools for 3 years. It's 4 years now. And so because of that, all the leaders are coming from that same organization. They have another connection besides just the Fusion Project. So that creates a sense of symbiotic union, I guess. They coordinate well together. So and it takes away some of my responsibility of having to coordinate all those pieces because they own it, and then I just help facilitate that with them, or one of my staff members does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes,
Great.
yes, it does. Thank you.
And yeah, there are always times when someone will come to me and say, I really want to volunteer and do something, and I will find a way to plug them in. But my goal is that at least 80% of it is because we've got organizations that are sponsoring and doing those kinds of things. So sometimes an organization will sponsor, and they'll find an outside financial sponsor. So because we're willing to advertise for that person, so it's a great use of someone's marketing dollars, especially if they work with girls or women or they care about some of these things that we do. They're a great organization then to come in and be some of the financial pieces for it.
Okay,
That's wonderful.
I love this. Another question, and then it's back to Amy. It's a back-to-back question. Why girls and not why boys? You know why? Because there's no boys involved.
Yeah.
Why girls? And then do you have any stories that you want to tell about how it's been successful?
Sure. I'll answer the why girls. Probably honestly, because for me, I knew more about that, and I know that percentage-wise and statistically, girls and women are more victimized than men. That does not mean it doesn't happen with boys. It does, and I am in conversations with people to start a boys program, but I did not want them to be together. Girls and boys deal with all of these issues that we just talked about so differently, from low self-esteem to bullying, all of those things. And they have a very different way of responding, both physically and emotionally. And so that needs to be its own separate program. But I do believe that's going to happen. I do believe within the next 5 years, we'll have it up and running. I've got people who are interested. I just had to focus on one and make sure it worked well. And so I've stayed with women. And I think that right now, I mean, just in the last year with the Me Too movement, with a lot of those things, it's been reinforced to me that it's time. It's time that we really focus on girls and raise the bar of what they should be able to expect and how they should be able to just interact with society. And I want to teach them how to do that well, not with anger, but with grace and strength and confidence. So I do have lots of stories. I can't say their names because I want to protect the girls, but we had one girl in particular who started early on when we first started the program, and she was not very cooperative. It's a good way of saying it. She would not engage in our conversation. She would not engage in the program, but she was there week after week after week, barely said a word, barely. And after a few months, she ended up starting to talk. And by the end of the year, she was, I don't know, kind of the life of the party. It was a huge transition. And she stayed with us. She's actually now a leader, so an amazing leader. But this last year, her parents talked to me about how difficult her junior high was. And in fact, had said, we weren't sure what she was going to do, how far it was going to go, and how kind of the path that she was going to go on. They're very, very worried about her. And I won't tell specifics because people who are listening will probably figure out who it is. But they said to me, we credit you. We credit the program for turning her around because we didn't change. So the only thing that really changed was the Fusion Project. And I do believe that did. She is an amazing leader. She's working on her self-esteem still, as all of our leaders are. None of us are perfect. But just watching her in the probably 5 years I've known her has been amazing. There are many stories like that. There's many girls who came to our program and are now our leaders. That's the one thing about doing it for a while now, is we've had girls who have gone through and now they're leaders. And sometimes I didn't even know, but they would tell me things that, did you even know I was thinking about suicide? Did you know I was a cutter? Did you know that I had anxiety issues. And sometimes I would have an inkling of it, but oftentimes we didn't know. And they would say, well, the Fusion Project helped. I learned that I was worth it and that there were other girls who were normal and just some of them were popular girls or whatever. And I realized had so much in common and I wasn't different. I wasn't struggling with different things. We're all dealing with the same thing. And it gave them the confidence to really change and work on their own life. I could keep going, so I'll give you a chance to talk.
Well, do you have any questions, Amy?
Was the gal that you just mentioned, because I think people really need to hear that it's real. It's real that it happens, and it's real that our children can be marks.
Yeah.
So I remember Tamara had mentioned you had a story of a gal that they may have almost
I did. I can tell you stories of girls that have who have been victims. But in particular, I speak at a high school a lot in the classroom. And this last year, I was speaking, and we were talking about so much of perpetrators. What they're doing right now is working kind of peer-to-peer engagement. So they are working through somebody who is a similar age or kind of the school above it. So either high school or reaching down to junior high, college age or reaching down to high schoolers. And so we were having a conversation about that. And would you, as a high schooler, really befriend someone who is in 7th grade? And unanimously, it was no, right? Like it just, of course not. That's crazy. They're young. And so I said, well, then you need to realize that people who are in that college age, young 20-something, are probably not going to reach down to be friends with you. And if they are, there's a reason why, and it's probably not good. So we were having this conversation, and it continued. But I noticed that over in the corner, there was these girls that were starting a conversation with each other. And I watched it, and it got more animated and more animated. And then in the middle of my talk, they got up and went over and talked to the teacher. Well, at the end, they walked up to me, and they said, we were so struck by what you said because there was a guy that we realized today in our classroom had been befriending all of us. And he was an older guy. And we realized, oh my gosh, this was not good. This was not going somewhere good. I don't know where it was going to go, but we are definitely in danger. And we wouldn't have known that if you hadn't have said that. Later, they walked out, and the teacher kind of filled me on some more things that I won't tell because it's confidential to them. But it was really serious. It was way more serious than they had even let on to me. And so I'm so grateful because if they hadn't heard me talk about it, and it was just a conversation that started because of a question in the classroom. It wasn't even something I'd planned on talking about. So those things happen a lot. I don't think that girls realize that this kind of peer-to-peer recruitment of things is happening so much. And so they're enamored and they feel really good and kind of confident because an older guy or an older person spending time and giving them attention. And really, we have to be so careful and warn our girls about it because it's really not a good situation at all.
Right. That's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
I hear about the college students.
Yeah. And the hard thing, what we tell all of our kids, both our leaders in high school and also our junior high girls, is find someone that you can confide in. I'd love it if it's your parent or a family member or, use one of our leaders if you need to. But when you have things like this happen, it's so good to be able to say, hey, so-and-so is paying attention to me, and have the other person say, yeah, they're 25, you're 17, probably not anything good's going to happen there. Or they're 17, you're 12, probably nothing good's going to happen there. They need to hear that from someone that they trust because they're so desirous of independence. And I'm in favor of it. They should have independence, but they don't have the ability mentally to make some of the choices and decisions that they need to make that are wise without someone helping them. So
it's true. They're not going to know what they don't know.
Exactly. And actually, a lot of parents don't know. So yeah, my job is to kind of get it out to the parents too and say, hey, listen, be a parent. Stalk them on Facebook, stalk them on Twitter, stalk them everywhere, get on their phones. Like, you're a parent, not a friend. This is the time they really need protection.
That's so true.
And that's the word, protection.
Yeah. Yep.
One other question I do have in regards to, we talk a lot about this on the show, that you have the after school program in the junior high.
Yeah.
However, you have the high school girls helping
Right.
with the junior high girls.
Yep.
And we always talk about how genius that is. Do you want to talk to that?
It is genius. It was not an idea; it kind of fell. So I will not take credit for it, but I'm so grateful for it. Um, I actually began because I just went and asked high schoolers that I knew if they would have liked this program at junior high, and to give me some ideas. And they all, 100% of them said, "Well, can I please help?" So I thought, great, sure, the more the merrier. Um, and immediately realized the impact a high school girl having on a junior high girl was. It was amazing. And for the very reasons that we just talked about, the negative and the warning signs of that happening, um, the reasons they want it is because they they want to hear what other people have lived with, and they want to hear that they're not alone. But there's also something about somebody who is a little bit older that comes across really cool to them, and so that's they can hear a lot of information that they wouldn't normally accept from an adult, they'll take from a high schooler. And so it's the flip side of the negativity that we're trying to fight against that I love. So we do have high school girls that help all the time, and they are the ones then who offer their phone numbers, offer their support all through the year, and say, listen, if you don't want to tell your parents where you're going, at least tell me, at least tell somebody so that we can do something about it and make sure they're safe. At least we know where they are. So it's been an incredibly, incredibly powerful thing. In addition, we're also training the high school girls. So all the stuff that we want our junior high girls to learn, we're in an intense way teaching the high school girls so that they can talk about it well and talk to the junior high girls in a way that's appropriate and healthy and actually on target. So it's um, kind of a double good thing. Yeah,
You love that.
Definitely.
exactly.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that we really want to cover is how are you doing for this next year with your current program? I know that when we, as Team Todd, started with you, you
Mm-hmm.
were telling us that you needed to be raising funds because you dip into your own pocket sometimes when you
Oh
need.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
understand. When you got a nonprofit. And so for you right now, going into this next school year, how are you doing? And I want to encourage people to donate because it's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited because I think we're going to start 3 new schools this fall. So that we're going into some other areas. I'm very excited about that. Even some other towns, which is my whole goal. And I think it's kind of going to mushroom. I think that as people hear about this, um, it's a win-win. It's good for the girls. It's good for the high school girls. It's good for the whole environment of the junior high and the high school. So school districts are being really supportive and asking for it now faster than we can actually get them out and get people trained and things like that. So um, I'm really expecting us to blossom with this. And you're right. I dip into my own pocket all the time because I really care about this because I want them. I don't want any girl not to be able to participate, and that's why we chose to do this as a free program. I didn't want finances to be an issue at all, and I do believe that there are people who will take this and believe this and really get behind it and be the financial support for the girls so the girls can continue. Um, it would be great. We've raised some money, and it would be wonderful if we could raise another um, really 30,000, 50,000 for this year, for the school year. So we're really doing well. That's not a lot. It's a lot of money, but it's not a tremendous amount of overwhelming money that we could get. So I think we can get that, and that's what we're looking for.
We did find your Amazon Smile.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
So
Now,
that's an easy thing.
Yeah, right.
yes. And then we're going to, Amy's going to, for those that don't know, Amy Morrison has, has agreed to stay on with the Fusion Project and Michelle
Yay!
once the next impactor is done. So that's one of the benefits of being picked by Team Todd, is that now you have a public figure that's going to be helping with your story and getting the awareness out there. She did some checking, and so Amy, I'm going to let you go into. We saw the Amazon Smiles, but then the other areas. We want to be able to encourage you, wink, wink, to get the Fusion Project out there. Amy, why don't you talk?
Well, we've been thinking of ways. I don't know if anybody about donations, but like we've been talking about. I found a mug. Talk about mug. Because Gary Vee, if anybody follows Gary Vee, talks about mug life and how he flips mugs on eBay and how they're make crazy money off of them.
Wow.
So I found one, and so we've got one for sale, and then we put some others. But it was funny to find out they actually are worth money. So you can make money out of thin air. It's like Amazon Smiles.
Exactly.
That's free money, guys. You don't have to do anything. It's just push a button.
Yep.
Look for the Fusion Project. So we've been really creative, but someone that watched the show is the one that told us about this. They put it in the comments. So thank you everyone for helping, because that's what we've been asking for. Hey, let us know if there's ways. And so it's getting everybody involved and thinking caps and challenges. Was it Helene that helped Tamara with ideas on the challenge? So everybody's getting involved in ways. So yeah, so that my big thing is also what you said, team, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that in a course in starting community projects myself, and it makes it fun, and everybody feels a part of something, and this is a big movement people can feel a part of. So there are several that are already. So people are giving up their coffees and donating. And
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you that have shared and liked. I have my male friends that are sharing this. So thank you everybody for your part. So they're all important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we close, because I know you need to get going, and so you can start working and get everything going for the girls, is we want to encourage people to show the money and to donate today. And we will be going live, believe it or not, at 7:45 still, voice or no voice, because it's all about the girls. And we are totally behind you, 100%, Michelle. And
thank you so much.
Of the Fusion Project, because this project really is all about our young girls.
Yep.
Being able to grow up to be the empowered, beautiful souls that will be able to drive the next generation.
Yeah.
Any last words that you would like to share, Michelle, in regards to any nuggets, anything that the people will be able to say, oh, wow, okay, I get it now?
Oh gosh. Well, the fact that all of this happens, including sex trafficking, in every single zip code of the United States. There is not a place in the United States where you can avoid bullying and harmful relationships and anxiety and suicide and sex trafficking. And I don't think that we understand how prevalent those negative things are to our girls. So as you were just talking about people giving up their coffee, I think that's amazing, and probably a light pain to be able to just give up something like that for the benefit and security and safety of our girls today. I'm so, not only am I touched, I'm really empowered to feel like that's a great way of saying it. If we can just ask everybody to give up a cup of coffee a week, that would seriously change the whole platform. Exactly. Yep. I love it.
That's
I love
2 cups of coffee or 3.
Or 10.
Multiply that out. So
If you do,
maybe
it's yeah.
maybe that's why we've had a few $50 donations.
It's amazing because it really takes a lot of people, and if everybody could, there's a quote I just read that if everybody could do a little bit, we would accomplish a lot. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for every piece, everything.
Amy, is there anything you'd like to leave today with?
It's so great to meet you. So for myself, and just thank you so much for your heart for our girls. So that's where I'll get
Absolutely.
emotional. So because we can all see ourselves in this program.
Yeah.
I think even guys. So
absolutely.
That touches everybody, and thank you so much for saving our girls.
You're welcome. I'm glad to do it. I'm glad I got the honor.
Will you be at the finale?
I will be at the finale.
Then we get to meet.
Oh,
Yeah, face to face.
exciting.
Very excited. So for those of you that don't know, this whole relationship started because of the Next Impactor. So that's one of the really great benefits of this programming challenge that we've been involved in.
Yeah.
I've been involved with. So as we close day number 299, can you believe that? 299.
Wow.
I know. Of 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. Michelle Jenks, you are truly a service hero.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We will be on in less than an hour for our public service announcement.
Yeah, more coffee.
For the Fusion Project. Now you
Thank
all
you
know
so much.
who came up with this amazing idea and how. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
See you.
Bye.
Soon.